record. Oh, you're recording. Never mind.
Yeah, okay, so I'm recording. So we are missing a few people. Hopefully Solomon will join us, but if not, we can just sort of discuss things. Obviously, no big decisions to be made. We actually do have a couple things on here that will be decisions that we need to make with at least 5 people here. So the June meeting is Wednesday, June 14th at 7. I sent that out a while ago, but just a reminder. Same time, 7. And then the July meeting I have is Wednesday, July 12th at 7. And then I don't think I put one in for August yet, but we don't ever, well, knock on wood, but we don't ever really have any big conflicts. Nobody seems to want Wednesdays for some reason on our Zoom accounts. So,
well, there are a lot of other groups that meet on Wednesdays. It seems to be very popular, but
not this Zoom. They do. There's a lot of
no,
Monday
I mean,
meetings.
it's a Wednesday is a popular day and evening for all kinds of groups.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, I'm glad it works. It's like the only day that works for our group. So I'm glad that we're on, we've got a day that doesn't have a lot of conflict. I think we can just actually go, and Ruth, I think if you take minutes, just the highlights, I'm okay with, I think that's good, especially since these are recorded now. I think highlights are great. Sergi has an update on the membership, so I'm going to let you kick it off, Sergi.
Yeah, so as everyone knows, I'm a complete newbie when it comes to Excel, but there has been some progress. I met with Hazel, and she does an awesome job of putting, as you guys have been here before, putting together an analysis. But what we've discovered is that I don't have the full Office suite, so I'm working off of Google Sheets. And so some of the formulas,
Formulae, I love it.
someone copy edit me, please. Some of the formulas that we use does not translate over to what I'm doing. So she had, and I haven't even responded to say thank you, but she has said that she has graciously decided to just do the analysis portion of the report for me, because what I do is I just reach out to Crystal every month, and I upload it up to the Google Drive. So, and I created a new just Freelance 2023 folder, and a lot of the stuff is kind of thrown in there. I may go in there and just kind of compile stuff into folders by year, just to kind of make it different. I don't know if anyone goes in there, but when I went there, it's just kind of bunched up all over the place. I think I'll throw everything in folders. Hopefully I don't mess anything up. But I got the roster from Crystal, uploaded it, and then we are meeting, we have another meeting scheduled, I believe the 8th, where we're just going to, where she's gonna hold my hands continuously to try to get it together. But I am getting better with the Google Sheets, but that's what we're running into. We did, our numbers did decrease by 37, if I'm not mistaken. And that's when I went into the membership folder to see, okay, whoa, 37. And Hazel did mention to me, she said some of them just kind of drop off and the number increases right back again, just because it might be an automatic drop off because of the renewal time period. So I need to make sure what that means, what that 37 number means. But I did go into the membership folder and found the letter, the please, baby, please don't go letter that Ginny made. And that's another thing, because my tone is very conversational and funny, and a lot of the letters are very businesslike, and I may submit the Sergi Spice letter, and you guys can tell me to tone it down, but I like humor and engagement.
I'm okay with the Sergi Spice, especially for something like that. Like,
okay, I like the please, baby, please, and
Do we know though? So the members decreased by 36 or 37. Was that in a 1 month period?
That is compared to, because I didn't pull it last month. So it is compared to, I think, what is this, from March, probably March. It was compared to March. So we're going to be meeting the 8th to just kind of, and I'm going to ask her, we'll probably be emailing back and forth anyway. What does that, because I freaked out when I saw 37. I said, oh my God, 37. So it may just be a drop off, and then people automatically when you renew, maybe it
Yeah,
bumps up.
it might be a lag between when
Right,
order says you haven't renewed and then they get your renewal the next day or something.
Okay.
right. So that's what I'm guessing. That's what I'm seeing perhaps. But in any event, I do have that letter ready. I looked through it. It seemed pretty up to date. Because the thing with the welcome letter, I went through the minutes. The thing that's missing from the welcome letter is a social media component and our monthly meetings, kind of announcing that our monthly meetings are, and we had a discussion about whether we're going to include all the board members, and I'll submit that very soon. But with the please baby please don't leave letter, it seemed to be pretty comprehensive. It did mention our social media groups, the benefits. It's an awesome job that Ginny did. So I guess I could submit it to you guys to see for you guys to have a second look to see whether it is actually comprehensive. And if it is, I'll probably just kind of, like I said, add a little sturdy spice in there, please baby please, or add something quirky or funny, and just replace my name with, instead of her name as membership chair, just replace my name, and I'll get that to you guys very soon. So yeah, I'm concerned about that 37 number dropping, and it may just be a lag. We're going to be meeting soon to discuss that, but good news is that I'm getting some handle on Excel, but like I said, with the programs not meshing well together, she said that Hazel, she said that she would do the analysis portion of our report every month until we find a workaround with that. So
Okay.
Great, that's very generous.
Did the meeting, did you schedule the meetings in the Zoom account or did Hazel do that?
she does that.
Hazel.
I have no
Okay,
idea.
so I'll talk to her, but you have it in the Zoom account, you have the meeting scheduled and the hold meeting scheduled in the same place. She needs to do the hold meeting in the webinar. So I'm gonna let her know that. I'm saying that to you, so don't let me forget it.
Okay,
Just
what am I doing? Just remind
remind
Hazel of
me. I just
something?
need to, you just need to remind me to let Hazel know to make sure that she might have put it in the webinar too, but she's got the meeting scheduled, and then she needs to go into the webinar section and say hold for SPJ freelance information session or whatever she called it. But what
Okay.
she did was she did the hold for in the exact same spot as the meeting itself.
Okay, I will send you you would like
Just a reminder, and I can
Okay.
do it. Yeah, I will
Sure.
forget by the end of the meeting to do
Okay,
that.
I will
So-
do that. Okay, so
That'd be
and that's what I have on my end.
Okay, well, that's very helpful, and we'll figure out, I guess we'll see what the numbers are next week, or sorry, next month.
Right.
And if they've gone down more, we
It's,
won't panic yet, but we'll figure out.
and her analysis is super helpful. I told her I'd rather not get rid of it. I'd rather just learn what she does, but it requires something called a pivot wheel or something. And there's something going on with Google Sheets. So
Okay,
she's handling that. She's decided to handle that from now on.
okay. So programming, Solomon and Chris, we're gonna give an update. Chris just said he couldn't go, and I have not heard from Solomon, so we're not getting the update from them. I will just quickly say that we are they are hosting together, Solomon and Chris, just a reminder for everybody, we have an event on June 28th. That event is multimedia training, adding photography to your skill set. So Solomon and Chris are going to talk about photography, still photography, as well as, I think, video. I hope. I think
I
that's
thought
what Chris,
that's what they were talking about.
yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that one. They have plenty of time to put it together. It's still 6 weeks away or so. We need to start promoting that by June 1st. I said I would like it to be in the newsletter, the May 29th newsletter, Hanan. We need to get after, I would have had Solomon and Chris do this, but we need to get Stephanie on board. I will email Stephanie to make sure she has it on her calendar and has time to write it up. Solomon and Chris need to send her, what the session is about. So I'll have to get with them as well. But I just want to make sure that she's aware and that she can get it to you by Wednesday. Oh, I said by Friday, May 26th. I'll see if she can get it, make sure she gets it to you at least by then. I'll tell her to aim for the 24th, Hanan. So you have it and you can put it together and you don't have to, it should be written by itself and you can just plug it in. But I really don't want you to spend any time on your weekend at all ever doing our newsletter. I'm a big fan of weekends. And when I have to work on a weekend, I get super annoyed. We have another programming event. I have scheduled a July, we talked about doing the virtual networking, social networking. For Wednesday, July 26th at 7 p.m. We don't have to do that. I've got it scheduled. We don't need to promote it yet. Of course, it's still a few months away, but I've got it scheduled. If we think that, oh, it's July, people are traveling, only 2 of us can make it, maybe we don't do it. Again, that's not a program. That's just a networking event. We only had 3 people come to it last time, 3 or 4. I think if we put this out 4 or 5 weeks before that meeting and we still only have 3 or 4, I think we sandbag these. I don't think we do it because we still have to show up on that night. So I just would say no. If I think 2 is enough, if we test the waters and 2 don't get enough people, then sorry.
Yeah, then we just come up with something else.
Yeah, and we just won't call it I think calling it networking is better. I think we call it a social happy hour or something. We did use the word networking a little bit in there, but I think if we call it freelance networking event and maybe give it a kind of a tagline, people don't necessarily know we don't have like this big agenda, but we won't have a big agenda. It's just a freelance networking event. So we'll see who shows up. I think we can, like, especially with the experience that we have on this board, I think that there's a lot of, I don't know, we can answer a lot of questions. There's a lot of advice I think we have. There's a lot of experiences that we can pull from to share. And I also would like to know from other people, just what the climate is out there in their freelance world, especially when we get sort of, I don't want to say stuck, but we're sort of working with the same client or clients for years, which I'm doing. I don't know how it is. I don't pitch to anybody. So I don't know. Are you getting messes?
Some people still have to do that. Some of us are lucky enough that the work
Yeah.
comes to us. But
yeah, exactly.
I
think it would be good to hear from both. And I don't know, maybe we find ourselves in that. And I've been out of pitching for a long time. I don't know. I'd like to know.
Okay.
So, I think that would be good. I will tell you, when I was looking for the jobs, I do have them, Hanan. I just got to put them in nice. Right now, I just have the link, so I've got to like write the words to it. While I was looking for jobs, this week was the very first time that I saw multiple jobs for contract writers, independent writers, freelance writers, for people who can write or to join AI training in Turkish, AI training in Japanese, AI training in Spanish, AI training in all these different languages, and they're all over the job boards. So they're getting people, basically they would have people learning what to put into those AI bots, right? So that they can get, so they can take our jobs. I don't know how else to say it. It's so depressing. But that bread, thank you. So I was a little bit like, yeah, there's no way. We do probably, I wouldn't mind talking about this just for a minute, because I do think this is a little bit concerning, especially with the Writers Guild, and Susan can probably talk a little bit more on that. But the Writers Guild strike, numbers, I don't know if you've read that, but one of the numbers in their contract is that they don't want AI to write anything for the
scripts, yeah.
And they won't agree to it.
And that's also an issue for actors too, of like taking their likeness and
their likeness, exactly.
Because they're not getting paid.
And they won't agree to that one. And they didn't offer a rebuttal. They didn't offer a compromise or a solution. They're just like, yeah, no, we're not doing that.
the consensus from people I know is that this is going to last a while.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
And I will tell you too, so at the school that I work at, I was very surprised to hear this, but our administrator, when this was first, I don't know, like a month ago or 6 weeks ago, I thought it was going to be like, make sure you're, looking, make sure these kids aren't cheating and writing their papers with AI. He was like, we've got to figure out how to embrace this. And he said, we're not going to limit it. We're not going to ban it. And I'm thinking, whoa, my goodness, right? So he said, this is a tool now, and these kids are going to have to learn this tool. And what can they do with it? What will you have them do with it? How can you be creative with this? And I'm thinking, yikes, oh my gosh. There was 9 kids who turned in the exact same paper.
Exactly.
They wrote the exact same thing in the in the please write a paper about blah, 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 blah. Exact same, probably what the teacher has is like the objective. And it was exactly the same. And then someone said, all you have to do is change 1 or 2 words and it'll be a different paper.
yeah.
So now they're learning that too. And I'm like, oh.
But don't they teach plagiarism at your, I mean,
Yeah, this was actually not,
that
this
it's
was
taking words and ideas, and this is the problem.
yeah.
I talked to somebody who went to the NAB conference in Vegas, like a month or so ago. So National Association of Broadcasters. And they had a lot of sessions on AI in the terms of TV stations using them to generate stories.
Mhm.
And what sort of copyright issues are there with just grabbing random video from offline, and
Right.
so, but this is coming.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I know that getting papers and work, a lot of times you can tell what is AI because the cadence is off.
Yeah.
Right. Well, also you've been listening to these or reading what these kids have written all year.
Yeah, and then
So
all
I
of a
don't
sudden
think
it's like this
and all things perfect.
atmospheric set, and it's
Exactly. You can tell it to write at a 9th grade level or a 6th grade level though, and it will do that. But I think that not necessarily right now, but in the next couple of years, like right now, I think we can still spot it, but I don't think we will in a couple of years. The kids that we have, this was actually at their home school because I do, these are like this career and technical education kids. So they're in there doing medical careers and vet tech and, criminal justice. And that's what they're doing. So it's a little bit different, but they 9 of the, and it wasn't at our school. It was a different school. It was one of the home schools, one of the regular schools these kids go to because they go to both, and they all failed it. But again, our school is going to embrace it. And we don't really have guidance on, hey, I will say I'm teaching a class by myself right now because the teacher got fired. So I've been put in there for the rest of the year. And I had kids write a paper, and they all did it themselves. They're terrible. They're not, you know what I mean? There's no way AI did all of them. So even though they know it, they haven't used it. So that gave me a little bit of hope.
I think, what does this mean for freelancing would be the
It's
question.
very concerning. I mean, there's a whole, I will say too, along with those, I am seeing more and more and more. And I mentioned this a month or so ago, where these jobs are out there as freelance or contract, and it says full-time.
Mhm.
So you are expected to work, and it's called freelance, so they don't have to pay you. And it's like every time I see one, I want to write to the company, but I'd spend all day doing it because they are
But
all over
that's-
the place.
But
But
there are
that's
laws
not
in place
new.
for that.
That's not caused by AI. That's been
No.
going.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, in addition to the other things that are going on with freelance.
I think what it means for freelance is, number one, the outlets that care about quality are not going to use it.
Right.
And number two, it means we have to pay closer attention to our contracts.
Yeah.
And we have to be aware of what type of language is being slid in there so that we know what to look for.
And I think it also means that people like most of us here who've been doing this for a while, who are established and who have repeat clients that value what we bring, are in a much better position than people starting out.
And what, is there anything that we can do to help people starting out?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I really hope that this is a
And
session at the conference. I don't know if that got
but if it's not
proposed,
a
but-
session, I mean, this could be a good, I saw on the agenda, it talked about for the conference, something to talk about like at the lunch time.
Yeah.
Like this could be a good topic to talk about because like maybe people have ideas about what we should be doing.
And I'd also, that'd be great. I'd also just like to know, what are you seeing in your area? What are you seeing with AI? Because it's
and are
so
you seeing
new
stuff
that-
in your contracts that are
Yeah.
popular?
It's also something that we could do as one of our own programs.
You mean like on the monthly ones that we do
Yep.
online? Yeah. Yeah, I
I
agree.
kind of think this might work better as an in-person one, just because you can sort of maneuver and talk, have it being open, kind of an open session.
I think we can do both. I think we do this at the conference for sure. We have this as a topic somewhere in the conference. And we might add another session, not a session, but we might add an event, in our freelance corner for this discussion. Or
Absolutely.
make the topic of the lunch and learn or whatever we do. But
And
I also think this isn't going away, so we can then do this in March again as a virtual session or February.
The
whatever
other
we
issue is that like that if you have these companies doing mass layoffs, right? And if they're switching to AI stuff or they're doing mass layoffs and they figure they'll do AI with freelancers, we need to know which companies those are so that we're not like stepping into something that we don't want to be
Right,
part of.
right. I'll do a little bit of research too, because there are probably some journalists who are super fascinated by this and buried in all the details. And it would be great to have someone like that.
I know some are using it for research, but I don't see how it's any different than Google. Oh my God.
Right.
Just-
Well, I
Right.
will tell you
Or
that
Wikipedia.
one of our teachers came in and showed me, he said, look at this. And he put in just in the little search bar or the type, where you type, said, give me lesson plans for 10th grade on the cardiovascular system. And these lessons within 30 seconds,
Fills
it
in.
was this beautiful lesson plan. And I'm like, this is for teachers. That's amazing. I would use that, right? That would be great for lesson plans. How long do they spend on those? So I think there's some really good uses for it. It's just not, you can take that, honey. You sure can.
I think
so-
this is all something, rather than spend our board meeting time on it, this is all something we should keep in mind for planning an informal conference session.
Yeah.
And then a
Yeah.
program of our
And then a
own.
follow-up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm taking notes.
I agree.
And I'll just write it down. I'm gonna just search around and
According
see
to
if I can
ChatGPT,
find someone.
you all should put yourselves in with like what you do, like Stacey Overton, TV journalist, or who is Stacey Overton, TV journalist? I put myself in, and unbeknownst to me,
And-
I've won a Peabody, an Edward R. Murrow, and an Emmy, and I covered mudslides that I didn't know that I covered.
Wow.
And put yourself
you-
in what?
You have it no, do that again. It adds more lies and more lies
Susan, put yourself in what?
into ChatGPT.
Oh,
It's
So
an
what did you do?
interesting-
Did you just put your name or did you say?
I
what
put my
does Susan
name with like
Vallet-
radio journalist, and then I put my former boss's name with like, Kate, like where he worked. And I emailed it to him. I'm like, Ed, I didn't know that you were blind. And he said he was laughing up until the point he died in it.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
Yeah. So then he started
man.
running through to see, what sort of things it was generating for him. He thinks it got him confused with another person who has the same first name who worked at like the same station at some point,
Yeah.
But yeah, so even if you're using it for stuff, you really have to, fact check things.
Yeah.
well, and one of the problems is going to be that some of those fake facts are going to end up in places that people might trust, and they're not going to look any.
Mhm.
Anyhow, I think
Yeah.
this is all good stuff, but it's not something we need to spend more time on because it's already half past the hour.
All right.
For conference programming, I'm going to give you some updates on this. So
Okay.
I went to the board meeting, attended the board meeting, which was 3 hours and 13 minutes. on a Saturday a couple weeks ago. Not that I'm complaining. Anyway, I think it was 13 minutes, 3 hours and 13. It was, so this is what got approved. The sessions this year are going to be different than the last few years. The sessions are going to be 60-minute sessions, 90-minute sessions, or 2 hours. There were 90 plus, I don't know why there's no exact number, but 90 plus proposals that were submitted to headquarters this year. There were 33 1-hour sessions approved. There were 3 90-minute sessions approved and 4 2-hour sessions approved. The editor meet and greet is one of the 4 2-hour sessions. We did get that approval before the official approvals went out. And I've already been working with Karen about, she wants to know exactly what we want. She remembered from last year that we wanted round tables and she brought that up. And I'm like, yeah, I just didn't even think that would be an option. And she said, okay, I'm going to check with the other sessions that will be in that room to make sure round tables are okay there because they won't go back and forth. So I think hopefully if it all works out, we will have round tables where people aren't just kind of, if you went, I don't know who went to that editor meet and greet last year of all of us here, but we were just kind of had to turn our chairs and people were kind of writing on their, I mean, it was fine, but it would have been better with tables. And there's also going to be 2 documentary screenings this year, which I thought was kind of interesting. I liked that idea. I thought that was kind of cool. Ashanti, who's the vice president of SPJ, she said she wants to take some of the stronger ideas that did not get approved. They were very complimentary of all the ideas. They said there's a lot of really great ones. And she said there's a lot that we didn't approve. She wants to turn those, once she becomes president, she wants to turn those into a webinar series. So just keep an eye. The only one that did not get approved was the how to find fellowships and grants, which I think is going to be a great virtual session for us anyway. But that could be a webinar series that they do, that they want to do, and they might not reach out to us, but it's just good to know, to have that on our radar in case we do get an email about that. For conference planning, for the freelance corner, we've got the brown bag lunch. I really think we need to call it something other than the brown bag lunch, right, Ruth?
Yes, because people thought, I don't know what the hell they thought. I mean,
Can we just
brown
call it
bag
like
lunch means
bring your own lunch chat session or
BYOL.
Yeah, because some people apparently have never heard of brown bag lunches, meaning bring your own damn lunch.
Right. Ruth was like, we're not serving you. So we'll,
Ruth was like, what planet are you from? But I didn't say that. I just thought it. My expression probably said it.
We'll do that one of the days. We'll figure that out as we get closer and see what the sessions look like. I still think we should do a happy hour. We can probably keep that right in the hotel since it's the Hard Rock, right? It's the Hard Rock? I think so.
Hollywood.
Sorry.
Hard Rock is not on the Strip.
No,
Yeah,
it's
Planet Hollywood.
Planet
Okay.
So attached to Planet Hollywood is a mall. And in the mall, there is like a brew pub type place. So that's an idea.
Okay.
I mean, there's also like PF Chang's.
I like that it's there at the, thank you so much. I'm starting. I like that it's there, even though it'll be more expensive for everybody, times 10. Because I did think that we had so many people show up to that freelance happy hour. We tried to do that right in the lobby bar, and it was great for us, but we really upset the servers and the.
Well, and it was awkward because that particular place was on either 2 or 3 levels. They really didn't have a big kind of open space where a group could meet.
Right.
And it did cause some hassles because the wait staff had to go up and down all the steps, and it was messy. But for the participants, I thought. Inside
Planet Hollywood, I don't know what they had, but like I said, the mall attached to, because you go out into the mall because that's how you get to the parking lot.
Okay.
And if you go into the mall and you stay left on the right hand side, it's like a sports bar. It's like a pub type sports bar. And then they have, I think, if I remember correctly, they have some seating like outside, and then they have their inside seating.
Okay.
I
I'll
think
try-
that would be the most convenient, but like no matter, the problem with Vegas is that no matter where you choose, it's going to involve a lot of walking. So if people aren't as mobile, it's harder because there's
Yeah.
no way to get around the walking.
Well, how much of a walk is it to get from the hotel into that mall? Is that about as close as we're gonna get anyway to a place?
That would be as close as we could get.
Okay, then I
Yeah.
say we stick with that.
Because like the hotels and stuff like are really spread out because they're so large.
Yeah, okay,
But I think that makes the most sense. And if people are, staying at the hotel, they just, I mean, they don't even have to go outside. It's literally just like through the
okay,
door, by their, I think it's by the theater thing.
okay.
You
Well,
know,
I think it's worked really well to do it on the Friday night. I'd like to keep it on the Friday night. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, and then the coffee clutch, which I have actually never made it to. That tells you about my morning rise problem. But I think Ruth did. Did
Yeah.
you, Ruth, with
if we
Hazel?
did a
Okay,
coffee clash at 11 p.m., I would be there.
exactly. Actually, that's too late. It's got to be like noon. But I think we should still do the coffee clutch, but just, like the brown bag lunch, I'd like as much, we won't call it that, but as many of us can be there as possible. Same with the happy hour. I'd really like us all, everybody who's there in person, to really attend those. But the coffee clutch, I can't say to everybody, hey, everybody get up and show up at 7:45 to do this. So.
Do you
Well,
want me
I
to
don't think
post
it
on
was-
our Facebook page that like, hey, we're renaming our brown bag lunch at the conference. Does anybody have any suggestions? And then kind of have it be a community.
Absolutely not. We are going
Rainbow?
to name it. I do not want any of those people. I'm just kidding. I think we can name it though. I think we'll be okay with that. And I don't think it's off the table yet. We'll talk about this next time, maybe, to actually have a topic there. We're not going to do the introductions again. It takes way too long. If someone gets up to speak, they can say their name and what they do. That's how you earn your way to introduce yourself. But I think that we could have a topic.
And if we're going to let people introduce themselves, one of us has to be the bouncer type, because one of us has to be able to say, cut, next person. Otherwise, one or two people will just monopolize the whole session.
Right. And I think that we can say, if somebody raises their hand to speak, say, in 20 seconds, remind every time someone gets up, in 20 seconds or less, give us your name and where you freelance for. Not, I covered this topic and this topic and this topic, right? So that's, and then if we have to cut them off, we're like, well, you're over your 20 seconds and we can, I can make it nice and I won't seem like I'm mean.
I can be mean.
You could have a big hour.
Listen, if someone goes 5 minutes, Ruth, you're jumping in.
I can bring my 3-foot cane, my cane with the 3 feet. It can be the hook. Yeah.
I like it. Stephanie asked me in an email if we gave guest speakers a thank you gift for presenting at the conference. I know, and I love this idea. It does not have to be anything extravagant at all. I wonder, this is not something we can even vote on because we don't have a quorum tonight, but I do think this is something to think about. Even if we decide, no, we are not going to put any money towards this. No, we don't want to do this. Even if we just did a handwritten thank you card, either mail it afterwards.
Yeah.
We've never done that either. So I really, really think, I always send an email after thanking them, but I think we should up the professionalism maybe on this. And a thank you gift could be just something.
Could be cookies. It could
be
jam.
Exactly. It could be just something small. And
the only problem I see with that is for something like the meet and greet. I don't know. I don't remember how many editors you're expecting, but if you have, let's say, a dozen editors for that, I've got either 3 or 4 people for the freelancing panel. I don't know how many presenters are on the other panels, but
Two.
for anything other than cards, that could add up pretty quickly.
Exactly. So we tend to have between 6 and 8 freelancers right now. I've got 4 people confirmed. I always get some more as we get closer. So it could
Editors.
be 8 editors. Yeah, editors. And then I know that Stephanie has 2 for the imposter syndrome.
And
So
I have
that's
either 3 or 4.
10, 13,
The
14.
idea of a card,
Mhm.
in all honesty, if we are going to use money for anything, given the cost of this year's convention, Las Vegas being extremely expensive, it's going to cost a lot to get there. It's going to cost a lot to stay there. If we're going to spend money on anything, and if it doesn't violate any of our guidelines, I think a little stipend to each of us who goes would be more appropriate as something to spend money on. I mean, even if it was $50, that would help.
Mhm.
Because again, unlike a lot of the people going to this event, we're paying out of our pockets. And yes, it's a tax deduction, but you have to come up with it first. And they've chosen this incredibly expensive venue,
I
which
know.
think nowadays is inappropriate, but it's too late to do anything about it.
Yeah, because even a hotel fee there of $150, $160, you've still got to add another $20 on
Taxes.
for their resort fee and possibly another $20 a day on for parking.
Well, and the resort fee, Susan, you can often, I won't say usually, you can often get that canceled. I know one
Not
of
in
the
Vegas.
conferences I went to last year at I think it was either a Westin or a Marriott, they put the resort fee in there and I noticed it and I said, oh, no, you don't. We're not using your resort services if you even have any. And
What they do
cancel.
in Vegas is they consider internet access to be a resort.
Oh,
Yes. So in Vegas, good luck with that. You're not going to get it removed.
all right. But again, there's taxes, there's parking, there's whatever other fees they can come up with. So this sucker is going to cost a lot.
And it's really hard to find places nearby that are cheaper.
Yeah.
Unless
You guys, I'm gonna throw this out
um,
here. I'm gonna throw it out there.
But
Whoever goes, we could just get an Airbnb and split it like 7 ways.
I would be fine with that.
Throwing it out
because
there.
I have my own room, because apparently I didn't realize this, but apparently I snore.
I don't.
I want my
Don't
own
wake me up for the coffee clutch.
I want my own room and I'd love my own bathroom.
Yeah. If people on the board are interested in that, I will, well, once I get back from my trip, I will research options.
And I think we need it to be as close as possible, because all of a sudden the taxis or the Ubers or the whatever will add up.
Yeah, I have a car, so I can shuttle people at least during normal hours.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're gonna be driving, Susan, if we could find a place for some of us to stay together, and then we could all pile into your car to get there in the morning and maybe, get back together at a certain time. But
Yeah.
even one way would be a big help. And then we're on our own for the day if we want to go back and forth.
Exactly.
Well, and we could, that said, because Susan might only be able to fit 3 or 4 people. That said, an
Fit
Uber,
4.
we could have 4 people take an Uber and split that, which is going to be great too. So,
Okay.
so we could do
That would
that.
be lovely, Susan, if you don't mind looking into that. I'd be up
Yeah,
for it.
it'll be late June.
We have time.
Early
We have
July.
time. Yeah, we have time.
The other thing, so I'm going to write gift cards. We'll just leave it at that for now. And then
No, not gift cards. Thank you.
sorry, I know. Yes, thank you. I don't know why I said that. That's what I meant. So also, just for the next meeting, we don't need to talk about this right now, but because we've got the coffee clutch, the happy hour, and the lunch, let's see if there's anything else we can do. Any other networking events, help, support, offerings that we can serve up in the freelance corner. If we can just think about that, think outside the box, think if there's anything that topic wise even, or hey, we're gonna have 30-minute session at 2 o'clock today. Maybe it could be like, we just announce them on the day of, we're gonna have a 30-minute session at 2 o'clock to go over resumes, or 30-minute session at 4:30 to, I don't know, talk about clients, or I don't know,
Fellowships.
something. So I think we can come up with some ideas.
At the Baltimore conference a couple of years ago, we had, I can't remember if it was ongoing or just a one-time specific time frame, but we did offer resume critiques, and we got a lot of response to that. We have people, I think it was throughout, anytime there was somebody in the freelance corner, and it wasn't nearly as good a location as last year,
Right.
but people knew that if they stopped by and one of us was there, they could get a few minutes worth of resume critiquing.
Okay. I mean, it could also be a fun thing, like bring your resume to our what should we call you? Our editor-in-chief, Ruth, and she'll, you know what I mean? It could be kind of fun, like, hey, will you look at this? Like, oh yeah, this is not, you know, you can
Yeah,
go
like I
through
said,
that.
resume critiques.
Right. So anyway, let's come to the June meeting with some ideas on that. I'm going to tell you what else happened at the national meeting. SPJ is struggling financially significantly. The conference was not a moneymaker last year at all. They only have just now approved a 2023 budget, and we are in May. They approved it at the end of April. That was what happened at that meeting. There's a strong chance that SPJ 2024 conference will be virtual due to budget. And then that might continue like in every other year, an in-person conference only every other year. I think that's going to turn a lot of people off, in my opinion, but they have to do what they have to do budget wise. There was also a lot of talk of doing away with the opening night reception. A couple people mentioned it. What about this? And they talked about it. I have no idea if that's going to happen, but I do think that that is a big place to save money. We're all there already networking. We don't really need someone to host, and here's a bunch of free alcohol.
They should do it as
Unless we can get a host, unless we can get like CNN used to do, host the whole thing,
Right.
and it didn't come out of SPJ's. And that's obviously not for us to decide. That's for national to decide. I would not be opposed to it. I would almost say, hey, we support this, just to say, if we do, if none of you agree with that, we wouldn't say it. But if we do, if the freelance community is like, yeah, you wouldn't be hurting our feelings by doing that. I do think that also.
Input? Do they want to know what people think?
They didn't talk about that right away. I think whether they want it or ask for it or not, we should give it one way or the other, because I just think we should. Gonna leave it at that. I also think that opens up a night of more networking opportunities, more, not quite so formalized. Not that it was formalized, but everybody kind of sticks with their own group. There's 1,000 people there, and I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of those opening night receptions. As far as I go alone a lot to those, and I don't go up to people and just, hey, I'm Stacy. I just kind of wait, and someone might talk to me.
When I would go and eat and then leave.
Right.
But like I did find like networking to be in a more informal setting was like that game night that we had.
I loved it.
Or not game night, but like trivia night, whatever.
Right.
But
they
like
they called it game night because games were the prizes.
Yeah, they could just do
Awesome.
Informal, you don't even have to have prizes. You win bragging rights, right?
Right.
They could do really informal, like gather anyway. Yeah.
So
and they could just pick cheaper places, like I don't know, Denver or
St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean there's this like, oh well, people need to go on vacation. And
Albany.
I don't know anybody who's taking their well, maybe your family last year, but like rarely ever do I see anybody who's bringing their families. And then
the only reason that Corey came last year was because it was my birthday. That was it. He wouldn't have come if it was any other time.
Yeah,
I still really like DC, but Yeah,
there's an opportunity to branch into areas that, they always talk about the news desert or whatever in the middle of the country. It's like, this is an opportunity to
mhm,
bring people there,
I agree.
Anyway, just my 2 cents.
Yeah, so that was just to update you on what some of the comments were, what, if you don't want to watch that whole meeting, which I thought was interesting. Ruth, with the resources, I'll just kind of quickly go through. I'm assuming that there's no new update on the On Your Own guide?
No, but I finally finished a couple of great big projects that were kind of getting in the way of some of my volunteer activity.
Okay,
Well, why don't we set, the convention is what, end of September?
yeah,
How about if we say August 1st?
okay. So the August 1st will be the deadline. That's the goal for the On Your Own guide. There's a few people missing that might have volunteered for this, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I think this is a really big thing to do for Ruth, for one person. I don't mean just Ruth, I mean just any one person, any one working person, right? We all have a lot on our plates. And I think that if someone could step in, even just to work a little bit here and there, even if it's just bullet points of, to kind of do the modernization, the updating it, that kind of stuff about what are the issues facing journalists today, misclassification, Chat GPT, just sort of bullet points of what you want to tell freelancers, what they need to be aware of now, today in 2023, as they're going through the freelance jobs that say full-time that are not actually freelance jobs. Those are classified, that's misclassification. I think if we have, I'm just going to throw it out there. We don't have to say who would want to do it right now.
What I
Go
could
on.
use the most help with is having somebody move the different chapters into, I guess we're now using Google Docs for this. Because once they're in there, I can go in and update and modernize, and then maybe one or two of the other board members can add, the topics that Stacy just mentioned. But that's the biggest time factor. And I'm using Google Docs more than I was because of a client project. I even added an app to my phone this week.
Amazing.
It's only one, and I hope that's the only one I have to use, but
Welcome to
I have to see your
2005.
I gotta see your
I know.
phone next time we meet. I want to see it.
well, it's for a proofreading and copy editing project where I'm copy editing 250 conference session descriptions
Oh, wow.
for an association in engineering education. And every time you go in to work on these, you have to get a new code. And the only way to get the code is through the Google Authenticator app. And you can do the work on the computer, but you have to get the code from the app.
From the app.
So to actually do this project, which is very much worth doing, I had to do the app. So I have been dragged into Appville anyhow, but
I love it. I love it.
finally. But
that
if somebody
actually-
can help with,
I just want to throw, because Ruth, just that triggered my thought of that the On Your Own guide having the latest and greatest apps would be worth having in that On Your Own guide. And that's something that will change even from now to August 1st. There might be some new
Sure,
ones.
yeah.
So let's put that in there too. Is there anybody who has any time to put to move this stuff into Google Docs?
I mean, I can ask Hazel because she was helping with that, but I'm trying not to
Okay.
add too much to her.
Yeah, I understand.
Is this something
And-
that we can ask in the group?
Yeah,
don't
that's
see
what I'm
why
saying.
not.
Like, I'm just throwing it out here. I know there's 4 of us besides me and Ruth. Like there's, I know
doesn't
right
even-
now that I can't do it.
It doesn't even have to be a board member. It just, and what I will do, because the rest of my week is lightening up, I will go back and look at this, and if it's something I'm more adept at than I thought I was, I'll let you know. And
Okay,
if I still need a hand with it, I will let you know by Monday.
okay. And that could be something that we put out on our Facebook group. And also when we get everybody, hopefully when we get everybody together in June, gosh, that feels too late though, but maybe I'll
Well,
just, maybe, and you tell me on Monday, I'll send an email to everybody on the board, and I'll include Hazel, Hanan, Hillary, everybody, and maybe they've got someone who they know, hey, this person might do it. Okay. And then our last item really, because the Hazel's update, where I'm going to wait for her to come back to give us the update on the databases. But Susan asked last meeting to put this on this agenda. And this is the one where I think we need to have we'll have to have a quorum to have this, but we can just mention it. The NPR and other news outlets have left or are leaving Twitter. And the question is, should we? And then should we increase our presence on LinkedIn?
I think it's definitely worth increasing our presence on LinkedIn, and that we don't really need a vote on. But I think if we're going to leave Twitter, that's something we should vote on.
We definitely need to vote on that. But what are your thoughts?
To be clear, we still have a growing following on Twitter, so it's not like it's going down, or and we still have like interactions, and
Yeah.
and I actually get on there. I try to get on there at least every other day, but yeah. But we still, and actually what's interesting, this is against everything that everybody's been saying, but like the For You thing that is like the algorithm is actually very helpful for me because it uses your previous, posts and interactions and stuff. And it's like, we think you would like this. And it has helped me to find stuff and jobs and freelance gigs that I probably would not have found as quickly without that algorithm. So
that's positive. That's good.
So it's
I think if our Twitter following is continuing to grow, I would have a very difficult time voting to. I sort of assumed that it wasn't going to grow anymore and might even start to drop off.
Yeah,
but
it hasn't. We are at 5,709 followers.
Wow,
you're famous.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Now, if we could turn that into money making, that would be awesome. Then we could afford gifts for people who can.
Exactly. We could pay all of our expenses to the convention.
I will say that during the national meeting, there was the international community we were the only community there. And they asked if there was any updates from the communities. And I thought I had sent them like sort of our analytics the day before. And I thought they might go over it. And then they're like, is anybody here? Is Stacy here? And I was like, well, I'm like trying to unmute myself really quick. And I'm like, well, and then I got to pull up, because I had already handed it in. And I'm like, I didn't know. So I'm like, I wasn't prepared to do this. Just give me 1 second and I will pull this up. And I gave them the analytics, the Twitter followers, the Facebook group, the number that we have, Sergi. I got that number from Hazel. I know you said, oh, I just found this, but I did get the number. So I gave them all of this stuff. I told them that we've done, how many programs we've done, what months we did, how many sessions we got approved. I went through this bullet list, and like the more I read, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And they, one of the, I wish I could remember who it was. Someone on there commented a couple minutes later, like, oh, thank you very much for that. And then they went on, and then next time that person got to speak, or a person got to speak, he said, that they were very impressed with the analytics, that the freelance community, that's really something, extraordinary. And they were really impressed with that. And I was like, thank you. It was a good moment for the freelance community on that scale. So that was good. I also Hazel got an email from someone after asking, because the tracking membership for all the chapters is still an issue. And somebody reached out to Hazel saying, how do you do this? How can we do this? What is the freelance community? How is the freelance community making it work? So I've seen a little bit of that interaction back and forth with Hazel and this person. So
Was that from a chapter or a community?
That was from a chapter. I can't remember what chapter actually.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So yeah, no, the international community, Elle neither Elle nor Dan were there. I'm not usually there either. I just happened to remember it and I'm like, oh, I can go. I want to go. I did want to go though. There was a lot. It was some good discussion, I thought, about, kind of gave us a snapshot of there's also talk about SPJ not existing soon, like within the next couple of years. And that's just throwing that out there.
This brings up another topic that we should discuss as a wider group, of that if something catastrophic does happen, do we create our own organization and forge on?
We've already had, who did I have that discussion with? Any of you? We've had an email back and forth. Were you in that email, Susan?
I don't remember.
About that? This was recently.
Sorry.
And I said, why can't we do this? Let's do this.
Yeah, well, we were
all
talking
start
about
somewhere, right? So we just need to make sure that we have our database,
think
our membership.
maybe discussing and just coming up with a rough plan about like if something does happen,
Yeah,
or
contingency
what is
plan.
the trigger point that we
I love that.
you know.
So I'm gonna put that on for the next meeting.
Future
too.
meeting, again, I won't be at the next meeting. Well, actually, I might, looking, it'll be midnight in Portugal. So if I'm
No, don't do
I
that.
possibly could join you.
We could put, we don't have to discuss this necessarily in July. If SPJ is not full.
Well, in June.
Maybe
I won't
ever,
be there in
but-
June. I'll be there in
Oh,
July.
June, I mean. And so maybe July, we push it off to July.
Something to think about. We just don't need to talk about it right this minute.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we could also, if we are thinking about it, we could look at what other journalism groups exist. I know they're struggling financially, but I just can't see them completely going away.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what that like Hazel's, like Bob Becker said the same thing, like this isn't gonna happen anytime soon. But you never know, right? These are strange days. So you never know. And that really, that should be a plan for everybody anyway, even if it wasn't like, hey, this is they're having money issues. We should have that contingency plan anyway. Just kind of in our back pocket, just in case.
And
Like,
I
what are
mean,
we gonna
maybe
do?
our
We just
plan is to-
dissolve and we lose all our members and we don't, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, maybe our plan is to have, create a working group to come up with a broader plan.
yeah, yeah. And the steps we would need to kind of quickly get up and running. Not that we need to take those steps, but what are the steps? What needs to happen? Who needs to be involved?
But again, it doesn't have to be decided today.
No, well, we can't decide anything today.
Exactly.
All right, what else do we got?
That's it. Hazel is going to be, her update will be at the next one. I don't have any information on that, so. And some of that stuff, some of the questions I have on there about the conference, we can discuss next time or in July when we get closer about QR codes and stuff. I actually don't love the QR codes. I thought some of the people who were a little bit older just did not get the benefit from that. They didn't know how to do it. They didn't ask. I watched that happen. Some people just took a picture of it and did not actually follow the link to the QR code. I noticed that too. So unless we're going to actually teach people how to do it, I don't think we should use a QR code. I don't know how else to do it, but we'll talk about that as we get a little bit closer.
Before we break up for the evening, I just wanted to thank Hanan for number one, being here tonight, but mainly a huge, huge thanks for all your work on our newsletter, because I know it's very time consuming.
Yes.
And you don't have to do it. And I, for one, really, really appreciate it.
You are very welcome. You are very welcome. And thank you so much for appreciating that. Yeah, I think it is, also somehow I also enjoy it. I feel like I'm part of the community.
I love it.
We all have that masochism in our makeup somewhere.
I do enjoy it, and it just it's very informative, very enjoyable. I really see that every opportunity, you just know more about the industry, you know more about what's going on. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Is there anything that you would like from us, anything that would make it easier? Are the deadlines working? Are the links working? Are there anything that like, oh, these are
No.
expired by the time I check them, or any of that kind of stuff?
No, I think it is getting, I feel the links are always working. I see less and less like changes that I have to make. I just make sure so it is really good. The only thing maybe for me, I want to maybe to create a system where it's done by Friday, but sometimes it is pushed to the weekend for me. So I'll see, maybe I'll find a way.
Well, in
We'll
that,
all try to get
I
stuff.
think the nature of that newsletter is because, like, let's say jobs, you know, sometimes they're up for a week and then that's it. Like they get who they get, you know what I mean? So even the Wednesday deadline on that, or the Thursday, like, and same with Hazel, like the fellowships and contests. But I feel like if we could, I don't know what your Fridays look like, but if we could do it like Friday morning instead of Friday night, instead of Friday afternoon, and like the wording for the events, we should be able to get you much earlier in the week, you know, to help you put that together.
No, I'm really flexible. I feel like Friday is fine. If you want to push the deadline to Friday, that's fine with me.
I really love the Wednesday deadline for the jobs, because when I'm late, if we have a Friday deadline, I'm still a day early when I give it to you on Thursday.
Yeah, I know. If it is working for you, I'm really, it is good. It is good. And maybe I will join the movement and just finish it on Friday. You know?
Join the movement. I love it. I made my client give me deadlines this year. They're so easy to work for. And I'm just like, we need deadlines. I will do this last. And we have, so I said, I can finish a script by every Friday, which I knew was going to be a lot with working another job. And I do it. I send it in at like 11 p.m. sometimes, 11:30 p.m. I know they would not care if I turned it in like Wednesday of the next week, but I'm like, nope, it's getting done tonight, 11. And I have stuck to it. And that is a huge, huge change in my MO. And it has been outstanding. It's been outstanding for my bank account mostly.
I made one of my editors give me a deadline. She was like, oh, whatever. And I'm like, no, give me a deadline.
Yeah, I need it. It's been a big help. I always thought that was kind of a plus, like, oh, I can just kind of do it whenever. It is not. It was very detrimental to my style of work. So I need the deadline. So that's
Most of us need that structure. That's
Yeah.
why deadlines exist.
Yep. And I have a lot of structure with this other job. You'd think that I would just, okay, it's structure. And, when I was kind of freelancing only, it was less, but I really need it, because I'd be like, oh, I'm too tired tonight. I can't do it. I'm too tired. I did all this. I will come home at 8 or 9 o'clock sometimes from a sporting event and work on it. And my scripts are good. Like they're still just as good. So they tell me. So I'm
By the way, because it's after 7 or after 8, there was just an email message in case the rest of you don't have email on. There's a message from Hillary, and she said she's fact checking a story on Deadline. It's taking forever, and she's apologizing for missing tonight's meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for
Still
sharing
wouldn't be
that.
quorum though.
Yeah.
Still
Well,
wouldn't be.
she's not on the board anymore, so it wouldn't matter.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
She said, let her
Let's
know.
just
if
tell
there's-
her that.
Right,
Doesn't matter,
it doesn't
Hillary.
matter. But she said, let her know if there's anything we need her to do.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think that was pretty good. I think we covered a lot of ground. I'll add these things to the agenda for June. Sorry, we won't see you, Susan. I don't think you should come to us at midnight in Portugal. Hope you're enjoying I hope you enjoy that trip, and that's what you should be focused on. I'm going to stop recording and then we can